Welcome to the session and to this webinar that we have today, event for chartered accountants and accountants, tax practitioners working with clients who are in trouble with SARS. So it's about stop wasting unbillable hours on your clients who are in trouble with SARS. So just a couple of house rules. My name is Delian and I am part of the tax debt consultant team. And I am going to ask you to keep your cameras on or off, whatever works best for you. We will spotlight the individuals who are presenting. We will spotlight Gerard, we will spotlight my camera, we won't show your camera. So if I can just ask for that. So if there's any questions, you are welcome to type that in the chat box for us. Please do let us know. We would really like to make sure that this is an interactive conversation. So my job here is to hold the fort today, to keep the framework, and let me start to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Gerard Linde. Gerard holds a master's degree in taxation from the University of Pretoria, and he is a chartered tax advisor. This is a leading designation from the South African Institute of Taxation and is an internationally recognized and respected accreditation that is a mark of technical superiority and professional integrity. Gerard is the Director of Tax Debt Compliance, and Tax Debt Compliance specializes in assisting businesses who are non-compliant with SARS to become fully compliant with SARS, and has specialized in this area for over 7 years. So our tax debt compliance has dealt with over 200 million rand of tax debt at SARS. The amount is actually 200,500,000 rand in total of tax debt, a huge number, and has reduced that number to 50 million rand in total tax debt payments. So you can clearly see that it's a reduction of a total tax debt reduction of 75% to all the clients that's worked with tax debt compliance before. So just to put that in context, if you look at the biggest tax debt reduction for tax debt compliance for one client, it was 97%, and tax debt compliance has 100% success rate, as in none of the clients who put their trust in tax debt compliance have lost anything owing tax. So tax debt compliance is compliant to the South African taxation law and acts. So everything that tax debt compliance does is legal, and tax debt compliance does not work for SARS. It's an independent organization. The reason why we give you this information is to understand the credibility of tax debt compliance, and also to understand where Gerard comes from in this presentation to assist you with your clients who are behind on their SARS tax debt. So I'm going to ask Dolene. Dolene, just please post in the chat box the company profile of tax debt compliance. You're welcome to download it there if you want to learn more and understand more about the value that tax debt compliance could add to your clients. So just a quick disclaimer at the beginning of this presentation. The way that everything is presented here is also for you to understand that under no circumstances are you ever, when you decide to work with tax debt compliance, giving up your clients. This could be a potential additional service that you could give your clients. And if you don't decide to work with tax debt compliance, you will learn a tremendous amount through today's discussion to assist your clients with as well. So Gerard, without further ado, I'd like to start with the questions, and I also want to ask if you have more questions, please type it in the chat box. We would like to make sure that we answer those questions. So we set up this as an interview style discussion, and Gerard, really looking forward to your feedback on the questions. The first question that I'd like to ask Gerard is, why is it difficult for accountants, chartered accountants, or any tax practitioners to work with SARS when there are problems? Please, Gerard.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Delenn. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for everyone who's been able to join. I hope you find this session informative and give you some background of tax debt, which is spoken a lot about in media, and you'll see a lot of articles posted about it. But how to deal with it always is not the easiest way, to distinguish and to take it head on, because we don't always know how to go about it, what's the options for the clients. And we hope from today's session that you'll take some of that into, park something in your mind somewhere, that there are options if you should ever have clients that have debt with SARS, and that there are other options and ways to deal with it, instead of, not knowing exactly what to do, and the clients, have to decide, well, am I closing down or what's my options? So, and getting straight into the Lynn's question is that, why it's difficult for chartered accountants and auditors in general, because we all know that time is an issue, and we work by the clients that you have and the projects that you have lined up, and the tax things that needs to get done. There are always time frames and time periods which things needs to get done in. And the SARS issue always comes at an unknown time, when you probably don't have, apologies, when you don't have necessarily time to deal with this, apart from the deadlines that you are facing. The second part to that question is that there's going to be the knowledge of dealing with this, not knowing exactly, the options that you can offer your clients, or what's available to your clients in terms of finding a solution. And then I would also throw in that, there's also a lack of want to deal with SARS from a practitioner's point of view, or an accountant or auditor. Dealing with SARS is cumbersome. Also, it's not always in a mood to deal with them. So I think those three combined will take you into a sphere of, difficulties in dealing with SARS.
Thank you, Gerard. One of the things you mentioned is that often the knowledge, there's just a lack of knowledge, understanding the processes, etc. So can you expand on that? What lack of knowledge exists in dealing with SARS? What is lacking?
Yeah, so I think the two major things that stand out for me is your expertise in dealing with this, and your experience. Experience helps a lot in any. You might not have the technical knowledge, and everyone can read the Act for themselves. The options are contained within the Act, but it doesn't necessarily give you the guidelines and the features of how to go about it. And we all know dealing with SARS in practice is a lot different than dealing with them, through what we've have in the Act and what's supposed to happen. And those two combined really give you a unique perspective, and that's what we, pride ourselves on in terms of the last 7 or 8 years we've been dealing with them. Is we kind of know by now what's expected, and the angles that needs to be pursued in terms of getting results. What can you say, what can't you say, can you take no for an answer, those sort of things. So and it takes time to build up, because there's no one way, and every client is uniquely different, and no position is ever the same. So there's no real blueprint, if I can put it like that, although there might be underlying factors that might be the same, but each entity and client is very unique, and the debt that they might owe will vary as well. So and then also you're dealing with different personalities within SARS. No one is ever the same. You're not going to the same person we built a relationship on. So those things are very key, in the debt sphere, especially when dealing with SARS.
Thank you, Gerard. So in your experience in working with different accountants and chartered accountants or tax practitioners, in working with their clients, what what do they believe before you start to work with them and their clients? What do they believe is possible in general?
Yeah, so when approaching SARS for the first time, or you're not comfortable in dealing with them, it's almost what they say have to go, even though they have certain rights and they can place obligations on you. I think the first thing that stands out that most people believe that you can't negotiate with SARS. They will tell you one thing and then you will have to abide by it, but it's not always as easy as that, and it's not white on black. There is some gray in between, because of the fact that they would want certain things. Let's call it, if money is owed, they would want it yesterday, and they will give you terms. For argument's sake, if you say, I don't know how to pay this, can you give us terms? And then they're just going to give you terms. And then you just have to sign on the dotted line. And that just means sometimes that you can't afford it. So there is definitely a way to negotiate with SARS. And then the unique thing is that what we try to do in approaching SARS is that we are basically telling them what we want and how we want it for the client, instead of asking them for terms. And I think there is a big difference in between those two lines. By asking SARS, you're giving them free rein to give you the answer and give you the deadlines. And if you don't know what you can stand or ask for, then you'll be in trouble. So that's what we pride ourselves. We try to give SARS the answer, and we want them to approve it on our terms, which then is obviously beneficial for the client in terms of keeping cash flow alive.
So Gerard, as you said, you can do it, tax debt compliance can do it because you understand what you can ask for. So based on this framework that you are explaining, what are some of the solutions that are available for the clients of chartered accountants or tax practitioners, specifically for their clients who are non-compliant with SARS?
Yeah, there's two very specific sections in the Tax Administration Act that will cover a deferment and a compromise. A deferment is basically a repayment of your debt over a period, and that you can find in Section 167 of the Tax Admin Act. Again, like we come back to the previous points, that says you can obviously apply for terms, but it doesn't give you, the steps on how to do it, what you can ask for. It just basically says that you can repay the money. And therein also lies, a lot of experience and technical know in terms of deferment, because what is a deferment? Deferment means you're going to repay. If you ask SARS, they're going to give you a 6 months deferment, but necessarily it's not always that you're going to, be able to repay something in 6 months. So there is some ways around this, and that's basically where the experience comes in. And then the second part is the compromise, which is basically, in a layman's term, is a settlement agreement. If you owe SARS 10 Rand and you offer them 2 Rand and they accept it, they will write off 8 Rand. And that's now, capital, interest, penalties. So it's not necessarily always, interest and penalties. And that's where people don't always know or understand what the compromise actually means. And the compromise is, you can find that in Section 200 to 205 of the Tax Admin Act, which basically that gives you a bit more, things that SARS looks at and what needs to be adhered to in order for them to accept the compromise. But the compromise in a situation where it's not possible to repay and there's no way for them to trade out of money, which will be a lot of cases in our country and in our economic sphere, because people, once they are behind with a few VAT returns or a few pay-as-you-earn returns, it's hardly ever possible to catch up with those things. It's because they are recurring every second month or month. So it makes it basically impossible. And then people have a head in sand approach with these things, and then that just, ramps up. So, that's part of the things that we encourage, is that, you need to tackle this thing head on. By putting your head in the sand, it's not going to go anywhere. From a practitioner and accounting and auditing point of view, you want your clients to do it, but because you don't know the options, they also feel a bit scared or wary, and then they don't know what to do, and then they just continue trading, and then it almost becomes a thing like we'll do something once SARS, wakes up to the fact and try to put pressure on. That's just the nature of a human being. And we also will put things aside until it becomes a pressing matter. And And by that time, it might be too late, you know, in terms of the collection. SARS might have already gone into your bank account and attached money, you know, so then you're trying to play catch up. So we always try to be proactive. You know, if people are aware of the options beforehand, then it becomes easier to plan. And then also, you know, giving direction to someone. It's always easier to move once you have direction in your mind, moving towards a specific place. Then you can plan, then you can execute, and it also helps business owners in that sense, because that's the way they are wired as well. So if you can give someone a solution and how to get to the solution, you know, it becomes a workable plan. And that in those two sections that we've mentioned, there will be a solution somewhere, one or the other.
Thank you, Gerard. So it's a lot of food for thought. We always say the proof is in the pudding. What are some of the latest success stories that you can share where tax debt compliance helped clients to become compliant with SARS, please?
Yeah, like you said, you mentioned the debt of 200 odd million, and in that there are so many success stories, almost impossible to rehash each one. And so we've created a testimonial page and our success stories on Facebook and LinkedIn and on our website. So you're more than welcome just to pop on there and have a look at some of the stories that we do. What's really special for me is, and that it's part of what I do, is because I can make an impact into businesses' lives. You basically turn a business around, you save a business, you save employees. And at the end of the day, once you've achieved that, you know, compromise of deferment, you know, the almost, you know, you get that gratitude and that feeling of accomplishment, which is really good for me in terms of what I do, and adds value to our economy. And just recently, you know, taking a few examples in between, and they range from this, you'll see they range very much. It's never one on the same. You can't say it's this industry or that industry, because it's all up in there. It's all cash flow related. So everyone can be in trouble, you know, by a change. You know, COVID came around and shut down businesses. So we had two distinct businesses. One is in the alcohol industry, and the other was renting out motorcycles for tourists. And in both of those circumstances, you know, that was shut down overnight. That basically shut the cash flows down, and we were able to secure both of them compromises. You know, writing off like 70 to 80% of the debt. And then, you know, we had recently, and it's weird when you look at it, but it's just to show that anyone can be in trouble. We recently assisted to senior counsel, which you expect people to be of high knowledge, you know, high expertise, but even they, in their lives, can run into trouble. And we assisted both senior counsel. For the one, you know, we got a 70 odd something percent write-off, and the other one we got a 50% write-off of their debt. So, you know, those things vary. Then we had a, you know, retired lady who had a video shop down at the coast, and that video shop closed down, and that debt was never resolved. She's on pension now, no way for her to pay, and we reduced her debt by also almost something like 90%. So, you know, you could see, you know, the various flows of who can owe SARS money. Is basically everyone.
Thank you, Gerard. And we posted the testimonial page and the Facebook page. You're welcome to go and have a look there at some examples. So you've worked with this for almost 10 years. What's the average period with all the cases to solve a tax non-compliance problem with SARS?
Yeah, we always use this example how long as a piece of string. So it's very difficult to give people exact time frames, because there are certain periods and things that are out of your hands. You have your time period, which you need to have applications prepared and submitted. Then there are also timeframes for SARS to review and submit that applications to committees. And that is the biggest problem, because we are dealing with a state entity. Like you all know, they'll be at home, or they will be working, or they're on strike, or, you know, there's a backlog in application reviews, and it depends on which office you are at in SARS, or which branch you are at, you know, where is your case located. So all of these things make it extremely difficult. So we've had cases solved in a month or two, and then we still have a case that's spinning for 2 years almost in terms of difficulty and how to go about the resolution of that. So again, it will become specific to where the client finds themselves in, and then how long it will take to resolve. So it's a very difficult thing to manage, but the important part of this whole thing is that if you are sticking to the time frames and you're sticking within the process, SARS won't be able to proceed with their collection steps. So the client will be safe during that period, even if it takes longer to resolve. And I think that's the most important part, is that as long as you can stop collection steps, which at least holds things for the client, and they have, it's almost that safe knowing that things are moving in a direction, and they obviously can't. We get this a lot. People say I've just had a guy yesterday in my office. He said he hasn't slept for many years. So yeah, those things play a big role.
Thanks, Gerard. I appreciate the context. So how can a chartered accountant or accountant work with tax debt compliance, and what happens with their clients if they want to work with tax debt compliance?
Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest concerns, because people might fear that they lose their clients because if they don't know how to deal with it, then they don't necessarily want to refer it to someone else. But what makes us unique is that we are a niche industry, so it means we are focused on tax debt and the resolution thereof. So we don't necessarily do, the income tax returns and the annual financial statements. We have our accounting and tax partners that deal with those things. So it's not us as per se. So what it means is that if you want to refer your client, you will still stay your client. We will come in, as a experience and expertise, offering our experience and expertise and solving your client's issue. And then once they're clean, that's basically you starting from a clean slate, and it will still be your client. So that's basically what we found is the biggest obstacle, and just to provide a bit of clarity around that contentious point.
Thanks, Gerard. So if a chartered accountant or accountant wants to refer clients to you, can they sit in the first meeting or the discussion, or how do you normally do that?
Yeah, we always encourage, if after the session, if you want to book a meeting or a discussion with me one-on-one, you are welcome to do so. We can hop on a call, just go through what we've just discussed. Will always be involved in the process, because there will be things needed in order to do the application. So you'll be very much involved in the process, even though not dealing with SARS, but at least from the service that you provide, there will be things that's needed. So together with us, yourself and the client, working together as a collective to find solutions for the problem.
Thank you, Gerard. So if someone wants to book a meeting, you are welcome to send an email to Gerard. There's his email address. And if you hop onto the website on this link, there's also a telephone number where you can directly contact tax debt compliance. So let me ask, is there any other questions that anyone would like to raise? You're welcome to type it in the chat box directly to me, or another question for Gerard, please. Tumelo is asking, what are the fees, Gerard?
Yeah, that's always the first thing that pops up, fees. So what we do is we'll have a look at this. Every situation is different. So our fee, what we do is we cover a set fee. So we'll charge a fee for the matter, and that will be a fixed fee until the resolution is found. So by either compromise or deferment, it's a management fee of the debt with SARS. So it's not an hourly based fee, if I can put it like that. So there will be a management fee that will be given to the client, and then they will have the terms on that, and then they know exactly what they're going to pay and what my obligation is to them and their obligation to us. So everyone knows exactly where they stand. So there won't be any, once the fee is agreed upon, there won't be any increase. It will stay the same, and it's our responsibility then to work with the client, until eventually that debt on the account becomes zero again.
Thank you, Gerard. Tumelo, if you can just send a message, a thumbs up to say if that answered your question, please. And then another question, if the compromise is not achieved, then are they still liable to pay the fee?
Yeah, obviously the compromise is not a guarantee. No one is entitled to a compromise, if I can put it like that. The compromise is an option that is provided by the Act, which we are using to pursue to see if we can achieve a compromise. If the compromise is not achieved, it depends on what are the reasons. GSAs may and will decline applications. We've had applications for a client declined 5 times before we got successful on the 6th time. So it depends on the reasons why they decline, and are you let's call it viable for the compromise. It doesn't, if I can put it in a very simple example, if you owe SARS 10 Rand, but you've got 20 Rand in assets and your turnover per month is 2 Rand, and you're asking for a compromise of 1 Rand, I mean, from just looking at that numbers, it means that, well, why should SARS give you a compromise of 1 Rand if you can repay them 2 Rand, a month for 5 months, and then they'll have their full debt. So there's a lot of, like you see, there's a lot of moving parts to this. It doesn't necessarily mean if SARS declines that it's finished. That's also one of the things that's misunderstood by the compromise process. It's not a one and done. So that's part of the negotiation. What we do is, so we're going to have to look at reasons why it's declined, see can we address those reasons and make sense of it, and then push for the settlement, or if there's a scope to increase the offer, we need to look at that. So yeah, again, like I said, there's a lot of moving parts to the compromise per se.
Thank you, Gerard. Just a context question. Has it happened before with tax debt compliance that a compromise could not be reached?
Yeah, we've had, there will be a couple of cases where compromises won't be reached, but like I just explained, there will be reasons why not. So, from SARS point of view, if they feel that you can repay them the money over a longer period and they're happy to accept it, they'll, most likely request you to repay the money. Then it your strategy changes from a compromise to deferment to say, well, okay, well, if you don't want to accept the compromise, you're going to have to try accept the terms that we have in terms of cash flow, what we can afford to repay you a month. So definitely there will be cases, because like I said, no one's entitled to a compromise, and your position might be of such a place that you can actually afford to repay. So it's not, it's not necessarily there. Our service is there it offers a good service in terms of it looks good and it sounds good that you get money off, but you really have to be in trouble and show that you can't afford it to get that solution. So it's not I'm going to ramp up debt tomorrow and then you just shoot for the stars and see if I can score a compromise, if I can put it like that.
Sure. So Gerard, if a compromise was not reached for those couple of clients, were you able to assist them with a deferment that they could repay? Just want to make sure on that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens, and that's part of the fee. So it's the management fee of the debt. So that's exactly what happens. So we try the compromise, we pursue the avenue. If that's not working, we switch it over to deferment, all the while making sure the client's compliant with SARS on that side. So that makes the the whole package, if I can put it like that.
Thank you. Then another question: how long does it usually take to achieve a compromise? I think you answered that.
Yeah,
just contextualize, please.
Again, it comes back to the piece of string. Depends on how complicated the case might be, and how many questions SARS might have on the client, and if there are contentious points. So you might be very successful in the first application within a month or two, and if the application is done well, you basically answer all the questions. And that's again going back to the experience and knowledge of how to prepare such an application, so that you make sure that you answer as much as you can before this compromise goes before the committee, because there's a committee that decides on compromises, which means they'll have a scrutiny over many things: assets, liabilities, directors, entities that are connected party loans. There's a lot of things that play a role in determining a compromise. So again, the time frame is very much unknown, and again, again, we have to look at strategy from the client's point of view, what's important, what can they achieve, what can't they achieve, what's needed for them now. So maybe the compromise might not be the best option at the moment, but we still need to be compliant. So if the need is for tax clearance, the strategy needs to change to, achieve certain milestones and goalposts before we can approach a compromise.
Thank you, Gerard. As you say, if it's fairly straightforward and the case is well submitted with experience, it can be 1 to 2 to 3 months on average. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Another question, we need more clarity on the fee. How much is the management fee and is it payable monthly? So maybe if you can give a practical example on a million rand case or more, if it's possible, and then a monthly payment, please.
Yeah. So it's very much debt dependent. So it depends on how much the debt is. So if we just loosely take R1 million, more or less the fee would be around 65,000 rand. So that's loosely speaking 6 or 6.5% of the debt. That is paid in a deposit, and then monthly fees from 6 to 10 months, depending on the client and the terms, to manage the issue of SARS on R1 million, for argument's sake. So each will be different. The larger the debt, the fee will adjust, and also the other way around. The less the debt, the fee adjusts down as well.
Thank you. So it is payable monthly. So it's also important for you that the client is able to pay that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's just...
No, it's not... yeah, sorry, Celine.
Go for it, sorry.
You can go ahead. That's fine.
So there's a question...
So...
Yes?
Okay, go ahead, Celine, sorry.
Sorry, there's a question. Is it 6% upfront and then 6% per month?
No. It's a full fee. So if we take the R1 million example, let's loosely say it's 6%. That's the full fee to cover the process until it's finished. So it's 6% thereof, which is the 60,000 or whatever, and then the deposit and the monthly is divided by the fee that is decided.
So the 60,000 is then the total payment amount in this R1 million example, if that is what is decided, and then that amount is broken down over the case period.
Yeah,
okay,
that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So if the timeline is unknown, does it mean a client can be paying you this monthly fee for years? So let's say this R1 million case, does the client then pay you 1,000 rand per month until it's finished for 60 months, or how do you work with that?
Yeah, like I've tried to explain, it's if this, let's just use the 60,000 example. There's a deposit and then monthly fees split over a period. So if you pay 20,000 rand deposit, it's 40,000 rand left, and then if you pay then 4,000 rand a month for 10 months, that means you paid the full 60. So the fee works, like I've said, it's a management fee to manage the process until the debt's resolved. So let's say we resolve the debt within 2 months, the fee is still the same fee. However, if we are going to go past 10 months or 12 months and the fee is paid, but the debt's not resolved, the fee will still stay the same. So there's no additional payments or added extra payments. So like I said, it's a full management fee upfront agreed upon to manage the process. So it won't change any way or the other.
So every client will have a fee structure before they start that they will approve, and if they approve it, there will be an agreed upon amount for a deposit and an agreed term to say pay it off within 10 months, for example, at this amount, regardless of the outcome of the case.
Yes, that's correct. The client will know exactly what they're paying and how much, and they will obviously agree on those terms, which we'll have an agreement for. So there won't be any hidden stuff. Everything's straight up front before you even start the process.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any more questions? Any other questions? Okay, and please let me know if there's clarity now around the question. So I think, thank you for that thumbs up. I think in terms of context, I would like to suggest, please go and have a look at the website. Go and have a look at the examples. For example, this company owed so much, or this type of company owed so much to SARS. this was the total debt reduction, and go and make those sums in your mind, the amount of tax debt reduction that is realized on average for the clients, and just those payment terms that is then affordable, the value of that. And just interesting, as Gerard said as well, that client that sat in your office yesterday, what did he say? He hasn't slept for how long?
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yes, couple of years, and you will see interesting testimonials of people saying also they couldn't operate, they couldn't keep their businesses open. So if you look at the testimonials, I think it'll give you a better understanding of the value of this and the solution really that it offers. So please, if you have any more questions, do let us know. You're welcome to send an email to Gerard as well, or to log into the website. There is another question. When you're doing the compromise, is there a flag at source on the client? Oh, sorry, I didn't voice this question. Sorry about that. So is there a flag at SARS so that they won't freeze the bank accounts during the process?
Yeah, any debt resolution matter, if it's not either deferment or compromise, it holds collection step. That's why it's an Tax Admin Act. They have their process that they need to follow, sending you demands, final demands before they take action. And if you are within your time frames and time periods, it's very much the same as when you do a objection and you launch a suspension. So if you are successful, the suspension, so SARS won't collect the debt until resolution of the objection. So it's the same with the debt, on a tax debt. As long as your application is pending and they've received it, there's a stop on the collection clock until you get resolution, and they provide you then to say, let's say it's declined, they will say, we've declined your application, you'll have 10 business days, to pay the money or come with an alternative solution or proposal.
Thank you, Gerard. And all this communication has to be official. It can't just be a verbal communication, yes?
Yeah, everything is documented. SARS will have to send you official correspondence on letterheads stating the declines or acceptances, and if you achieve compromises, there needs to be contracts in place that the client signs with SARS, and then the payment made directly to SARS. So nothing happens through us, although we facilitate the process. The client's dealing directly in terms of payments and contracts with SARS. So everything is above board.
Thank you. There's another question, and it's great because it's great interaction. Do you deal with specific SARS stuff, or do you work with a call center?
Yeah, that's also part of the very secret ingredient in what we deal with. As soon as you want to go to the call center, you'll fail almost 100% of the time. It doesn't work. Submitting applications through the system, those things get lost. So we very much, supposedly how things needs to work is that there's a debt collector appointed to the case. It's their responsibility to source the debt. And then applications need, what we do and what we try to do is get to that person, and applications happen through that person alone, which needs to present the case, get it to the committee and provide you feedback. So there will always be a personal interaction. So which also what sets us apart in terms of that is that you don't always know how to get to that person, who that person is, because some of the correspondence is anonymous from e-filing, for example. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to that question alone. But like, we try to make sure we have someone directly dealing with us in our case. So they will never be the same because the agency is so large. There will be different branches, different collectors all across the land. So it's sometimes trying to find that person to deal with.
Thank you, Gerard. So I think that underlines the experience, the knowledge, the absolute know-how and dedication and specialization from tax debt compliance. So it's not an easy process. It's not if you think you know something, it works. It's a process that came through learning, through expertise, and through specializing in this. So another question, is your process working with those persons legal? As you said, it's not readily available. Is this process that tax debt compliance follows legal, Gerard?
Yeah, like I said, the process we follow is, within the Admin Act. So you have the ability to apply for compromise or a deferment. And then once you've applied, and if SARS accepted, let's say you've got a compromise or you've got a debt of 10 Rand and you offer 2 Rand and they accept it, SARS will have to issue a debt compromise agreement between the client and them, which will state that as of this date, you owe us 10 Rand, you're going to pay us 2 Rand by this date, and everyone signs on the dotted line, which is a direct contract with SARS. That needs to be there. We've seen so many, scams out there where people say, pay me this amount of money and I will make sure that I will get you X amount off. Again, as soon as you hear the words, we can guarantee you 80% off or 90% off, then you should be running for the hills. Also, the clients have burned their fingers. They pay this person or whoever money and then think the process disappears, because there is fraud out there with companies and SARS at the back end. Some of the employees taking backhanded deals. So there are things that you need to be aware of. You need to sign an agreement with SARS. All the payments that you make in terms of taxes and tax debts needs to go directly to SARS. We don't take money on the client's behalf and then pay it to SARS. Everything, we send the payment reference numbers to them. They pay it directly over to SARS. So that's very key points, when dealing with them.
Thank you, Gerard. So to that question, it is 100% legal and there are no kickbacks, etc. paid anywhere. This is a full legal process, which is very, very important. Great question. Thank you.
Cool here. Yeah, like I just follow up on the questions I was asking, Mr. Gerard. Without obviously telling us your processes, because obviously that's part of your IT or whatever experience that you have, are you able to give us comfort that however, because you get in touch with the SARS people or however you deal with them, that process is clean? Are you able to give us comfort in that sense? Because what we've seen in practice is guys, they contact you at the back and they want other things so that they can escalate your case or whatever, or they tell you that go to the call center and then this thing will be done in 3 months, as opposed to things getting done overnight. We've seen that, and we're just trying to get comfort on the fact that your processes, when you liaise with the SARS people and however you work, is clean.
Yeah, so thanks, Milo. Nothing is hidden. So clients have free access to the replies and the communication between us and them. They also have, the client will receive the contracts. They will receive the application. So nothing is, is hidden from the client or the practitioner. So we mostly, deal with SARS because they don't want to deal with them. So they're not involved so much in terms of the day-to-day discussion and those sort of things. But again, nothing is hidden from that point of view. So the contract's also the very important part, is that the client needs to sign the contract and there will be terms on that contract. So, it's nothing, I can't just come and say, I've achieved these terms for you, please pay. There will always be a backing or a link to the discussion or the result, if I can put it like that.
All right, no problem. Thanks.
Thank you. So there's another question, which is great. So you come on board once the client has already received the communication from the debt collector at SARS. Gerard?
It's a yes and a no, because obviously there will be times when, there will be times when SARS doesn't know about debt. So there will be, returns outstanding for many years or periods because the clients, adopted the hidden sand approach. So, then you can be proactive. So there will be reactive, coming in and try to come in at the back end and then try, solve the matter. Or you can be proactive and know what the issue is. We'll know there will be debt and how we're going to deal with this. So, it's on both sides of the coin.
Which one do you find the best, proactive or reactive? Or does it not really matter?
Sometimes you don't have a choice because it's already there, but definitely being proactive and trying to plan. Reactive, it depends on how far the process has been. You can just imagine from a SARS point of view how many excuses these people get every day from many people. So we try to distinguish that we are standing above, those things. When we say we'll give you things and an application, we'll give it to you on your time frame, except when we can manage, an extension or whatever. But it means that, reactive. You always have to deal with that, but you have to keep in mind you're dealing with this person who's almost, very tired of hearing stories and being almost abrasive to certain things. So the sooner you can get to someone and win their trust in this process, the better it is for yourself and the client. Because that means there's a good footing, there's the intent of resolving the matter, which all bodes well in terms of getting things approved at the end.
So if there's any other questions, please feel free. Email Gerard. You're welcome to email him directly. I'm going to quickly post the email address again. It is linda@taxdc.co.za. That goes straight into his personal inbox. And then please go visit our website. It is right here in the chat box, taxdc.co.za. You are welcome to go and download the company profile for more information on real case studies of clients who were assisted and helped. You can also see that on the website and the Facebook page. So we really want to invite you to go and do your homework properly, that you can see the credibility and track record of tax debt compliance. So Gerard, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, everyone who was here today, for your time. And we would love to hear from you. We'd like to make contact with you and understand how, in today's economy, tax debt compliance can play a central role in keeping businesses, keeping their doors open legally, in negotiating with SARS for payment terms that businesses can get back to become compliant and to stay adding value to the economy. So thank you very much. Gerard, thank you so much. And looking forward to connecting with you guys again. Thank you.